right, good afternoon. We provide an update. Our emergency preparedness teams have been working hard to ensure that our city is ready. That's been happening for days now. We're continuing to monitor Hurricane Dorian. Forecast trends today are edging Dorian's track east, near or offshore of our coastline. As such, we are not currently under any watches or under any warnings. At this time, impacts of the storm, including tropical force storm winds and storm surge, are most likely to begin Tuesday, persisting into Wednesday. Even with the recent trends shifting the track east, we still have the potential for very high winds, heavy rains, and very high waters on the coast and in low-lying areas along our rivers and tributaries. The last time we had a news brief, I said we check back with any major developments. The only development since our last meeting is that this storm track continues to have a lot of movement and uncertainty. Currently, the projections of Dorian's movement seem slightly in our favor. While there is a little bit of optimism here, we cannot be complacent. Stay vigilant, aware, continue to prepare, and know your evacuation zone. You can find that at jacksready.com or on the Jax Ready app. The city and our emergency personnel will continue to work around the clock here at the EOC to monitor and track the storm and any potential impacts to our region until this storm is gone. At this time, there are no expected changes regarding emergency declarations or evacuations. We have not declared an emergency or an evacuation at this time. Any changes to this will be influenced in the next 12 to 24 hours by information from weather experts. Any evacuations or related decisions will come tomorrow. If there are any decisions made on evacuations, we've already prepared and can quickly engage multiple shelter locations, including pet-friendly locations and those with special medical needs. Citizens with special medical needs are asked to register with our emergency preparedness teams at coj.net/special medical needs or 630 city. And I would ask those of you covering that to put that website please up on your graphic if you can. Citizens must pre-register if they plan to stay in a special needs medical shelter during an emergency, and they must re-register every year. Again, that's coj.net/special medical needs or call 630 city. I want to thank all of our partner agencies at the state and federal level: National Guard, National Weather Service, Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, U.S. Coast Guard, State of Florida Emergency Management, Duval County Health Department, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I want to thank our many private sector partners that are helping us: Walmart, CSX, Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast. And to our local partners, of course, JSO, JFRD, JTA, Jacksport, JAA, and local media outlets. Stay prepared, and one of the ways you stay prepared is continue to tune in to local news so you know what's happening. With that, I will ask Angie to come up with the weather service.
Thank you. Hey, good afternoon. My name is Angie Agnetti. I'm with the National Weather Service here deployed at the EOC to help out with Dorian operations. As of this afternoon, around 4 o'clock, Hurricane Dorian was still a Category 4 storm, had maximum winds of 150 miles an hour, and was on a slow westward track nearing the Bahamas. And our timeline here locally for potential impacts for Dorian has been consistent, and it maintains that it looks like to be the Tuesday to Wednesday time frame. What has changed, and as the mayor had briefed, is that we are starting to see better agreement in the forecast models with keeping the storm near to offshore of our local coastline as it approaches. And with that said, I mean, it sounds, we're breathing somewhat of a sigh of relief here. However, there are still some models that show a track hugging the coast or even drifting a little inland. So we still want to remain vigilant with our preparations because it just takes a little wobble to the west with this storm to cause a major change in the impacts that we are forecasting at this time. So as the mayor had mentioned, with this more eastward trend in the forecast guidance, that's taking the extent of impacts, including heavy rain and the wind potential with the storm, as well as storm surge, east with it. So this is looking to be more like a coastal impact storm at this time. So we're still looking for those sustained tropical storm force winds, upwards near sustained 60 miles an hour, Tuesday into Wednesday time frame. We are also looking for storm surge. and capping that storm surge value at around 5 feet along the immediate coast. And then once we go inland to the river, south of downtown, down the river to Jax, less than 3 feet. That less than 3 feet will not trigger any warnings from the National Weather Service that you'll see. So that will be tidal inundation, nuisance tidal flooding in that realm. Along the coast, although we hear 5-foot surge, our dune structure along the coast will keep that surge from really penetrating far inland, but we will have vulnerable points on the coastline, like beach access points, that will have water funnel up, and we call that wave run up. So there is anticipated to be some wind, some water damage along the coast, and on top of that, we're going to have some wind-induced waves. So there is expected to be some damage along the immediate coastline from this storm. Still looks like that rainfall threat exists, but shifts significantly eastward as well, maintaining that threat for heavy rainfall, potentially flooding along the coast there, immediate coastline, like from the intercoastal to the beachfront. So although we're hearing this trend is continuing with this eastward shift, we still don't want to let our guard down totally, especially for coastal interests at this time.
Sheriff.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So in addition to our preparations locally, we've been monitoring traffic flow up from South Florida. There have not been massive evacuations ordered in South Florida, so we have not seen really increased traffic coming from the south, and we will continue to monitor that over the next couple of days. And as been mentioned many times, obviously, although the forecasts appear to be trending in a favorable direction, it's important that you stay tuned to all the forecasts and all the briefings. And we'll do the same. Obviously, a change in the forecast that's going to negatively impact South Florida will negatively impact that traffic, and we'll get that information out as quick as we can. But currently, no traffic issues related to the storm, and we're going to continue to monitor that.
Any questions?
Yes. Has there been any decision about if schools will remain open or be closed on Tuesday?
Currently, schools are open for Tuesday. Again, it depends on decisions made tomorrow, but as of today, all schools and activities are closed until Monday.
Okay. And this question for you, Mr. Mayor. We know that we've had big storms like this before, but what were some of the biggest takeaways from Irma, and as it relates to preparing that you may have used this time around?
Well, I think the city's prepared, and we're always honing our preparation. This emergency operations center, have full-time employees. It operates year-round, and we go through events that would emulate what a crisis might look like. But the takeaway for me is for people to continue to stay engaged and remain to be aware. This thing slowed down. We've been talking about this for days. We need people to know their evacuation zones. The last two storms, we heard people scrambling, even though we've been talking about it for days. How do I find my evac zone? So you should have all your supplies, but right at this moment, if you're watching or listening, go find your zone so you're not surprised and scrambling in the event we have to move people.
To the mayors of the beaches communities, hearing that people are going to the beach, taking sand, can you remind people about the reason that this is illegal?
Well, it is illegal. There are places to get sand and dirt that are not on the beach. We're actively enforcing that in Atlantic Beach, and we really discourage it. The red flags are up. The rip currents, the surf is high. We still want to strongly discourage anybody from going in the water. And I just want to say over the next few days, we're going to be focusing on what that report is for the coastal impacts. And we're going to be focusing on the low-lying areas that have had water issues in the past. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think that more important, all of the lifeguards right now are discouraging people from going into the water. Anyone that's going out at waist high, they're bringing them back in. And the rip tides are certainly very rough right now. We have 2 to 4 foot waves, expecting more. And just so no surfers get excited, the waves are really sloppy. So we certainly want to keep people out of the water right now.
And Mayor Brown, yesterday you mentioned that the lifeguard stands would be going out. Is there any plan on bringing them back at some point?
No, we're keeping them out during the weekend. We're expecting more people to come out. We've had shifts of people. As bands have come in, they left, but we've had a lot of people at the beach today.
Sure. Have there been any reports of price gouging as of yet?
We have not seen anything locally as of yet, and obviously we're partnering with the Attorney General's office and the Governor's office on reporting that. There are, and we'll get some information out to you. There's an app that you can report that stuff on, and obviously something we keep an eye on. But no, we've not seen or heard any verifiable reports of any price gouging yet.
Thank you.
Sheriff, have you requested any additional resources, whether that be swift water assets or anything of such?
So what we do here, as the mayor mentioned, we work together closely with JFRD year round, and so we are part of that coordination process. When the fire chief talks about the swift water rescue teams and that type of operation, we're part of that as well. So anything that's requested really outside the city or outside the county comes from not just from me, but from the Emergency Operations Center. So we're part of that decision-making process and all that. But I have not asked for any specific resources to come in and help us at this point, and we're prepared for what we have. Most of those requests would be after impacts more than anything else, and so we'll continue to monitor that and make those requests as needed.
Superintendent, is the school district taking any sort of precautions to make the schools more hurricane resistant at this time?
Actually, all of our shelters are already up. All of our schools that could serve as shelters have those shutters that cover the windows already in place. I encourage parents to make sure that they've downloaded our app so that they can continue to get updates throughout the weekend. And again, tomorrow will be a better opportunity for us to make decisions about school openings or closings next week.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Know your zone.
Maybe that. Looks like a coastal event. You know?